Do the people in the bigger scenes know that there is a scene or scenes in the Nordics?
Honestly, most people don't know where Sweden is. Everybody who wants to sweat can go to Bulgaria Tech and will come to Sweden. There's like a certain route, like the reindeer, you know?
Greetings from the electric byway.
Hello seekers and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a special guest from Gothenburg, Sweden. This is Luddite, and we are gonna talk about the free techno and the free party scene in the Nordic countries. Well, especially about Finland and Sweden, because I'm from Finland and he's from Sweden. But you also have some experience in some of the other Nordic countries. So we're gonna look at the situation there. And yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining on the channel.
Nice to be here. And hello from my studio in Gothenburg.
I wonder how long have we known each other? Like, I think we met live at some like hardcore party in Stockholm, maybe like 10 years ago or more.
I think even more, eh?
Even more. And online maybe even longer.
Yeah, exactly. I think initially maybe online. Because when we met in Stockholm, I had that record for you. Didn't I?
Right. Yeah, you gave me some wine.
So we had some contact on the internet before, and I don't remember where, though. Huh. Yeah. I remember you put up like, without going into nerdy details for the rest of the viewers, but you put up a set somewhere where you had tracks from Origami, and I was really impressed by that. Like, oh wow, someone knows this label. But the party was Sounds of Chaos, and it was in this weird gymnastics hall in a suburb of Stockholm.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of Peckerhead's first gigs as well. And now he's a rising star in the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
But at that time, he was just getting started.
Yeah, was already quite energetic back then.
Oh, yeah. And another thing that turned into a bit of like... I don't know. I don't know if it's Mandela effect or if it's a real legend or whatever, but there was a rumor that one of the last DJs on that party who played like old school gabber and played a pretty fucking good set as well, that he was police. Like the guy is working as a cop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I tried to figure out, like, many years afterwards, like, who was this guy that he's a police and he's mixing good gabber? And no one remembers anything, basically.
So was he part of the rave police and thing in Stockholm or something?
Man, I don't know. I don't know who he is, but apparently he was one of the DJs on that party, along with
interesting
Peckerhead, with you, with Igor. What's his name now? DJ name.
Shotgun Orchestra.
Shotgun Orchestra. Thank you. And the other Russian girl that was playing really good atmospheric speedcore.
Yeah, Masha is her name, but I forgot the artist name. But yeah, she hasn't been so active lately. But and we also had, of course, Doomsday Sounds from Finland.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Wait, who else was from Finland there?
Yeah, I don't remember. There were some party goers, but I don't remember if there were other artists or DJs.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, anyway, today we're talking about kind of kind of a very underground subculture here in the Nordics, which is like, I don't know, it's still relatively unknown and like small, but I think that more and more people are getting into it. It's like a scene, but it's also like a music subgenre which has several different, maybe like regional subgenres. And it's called Tekno, but it's spelled with a K. So that's how you kind of differentiate it from the regular techno, like the Detroit stuff and the other stuff. So how did you actually, well, maybe first, like, can you tell a bit about your general background in electronic music, how you got into it, and then how did you discover the world of free techno and free parties, and teknivals?
So as a teenager, I was mostly into punk music. And I grew up in Israel, where psytrance is enormous. It's like almost folk culture there, or not almost. It's like, I think it is by now, and it's everywhere. And I was, let's say, very, very skeptical, you know, as a punk. But later on, I got into digital hardcore with Atari Teenage Riot, of course, and DHC Meinhof. And I think through that, later on, I discovered breakcore. So that was actually my absolute most initial entry into any kind of electronic music, except the Prodigy. Of course, there are exceptions. I've always loved the Prodigy ever since I was young. But that was the music. Raves, per se, I got into because I was also kind of involved in the anarchist movement in Israel. And as soon as I moved away from home and I ditched going to the army there, I was squatting for a while. Back then, you had squats kind of like you still have in Spain and Netherlands and England. So you had a few in Israel. Now I think there aren't any at all. And some people I was living with were throwing illegal parties, free parties, with mostly drum and bass.
Okay.
Actually, and that kind of worked for me. It took a while. Like at first I was going there just to hang out and because it was a cool idea, you know, taking over some abandoned building or some passageway somewhere, putting a small sound system and playing music. But drum and bass, like having a punk background, was very easy to get into. But I think there was like a very specific party. It was New Year's Eve 2004 or 5. That was a proper free techno party with mostly techno with a K. Of course, actually not only, also techno, like proper hard techno, and gabber. That was the first time I heard gabber, and yeah, something happened, I guess, and I was like, okay, this is good shit. And then there were, that party was organized by a crew called Street Freedom. They were active at the time throwing illegal raves. You had some other crews in Tel Aviv, and not only throwing illegal squat parties like the Technodrome. They had really good parties, but really shit music. It was too slow. But they used to make really nice decorations and set up like very special abandoned locations. Yeah, actually, I think that that's the only ones I've personally been to. Then, of course, there's other crews that I heard about. And
so
then...
these were mostly like local crews, or were there also like visiting sound systems from some other countries? Or
There were, but I've never been to that. I know that a French sound system called Monkey Family made it to Israel and then later on to Jordan, where they made the Teknival in Jordan. I wasn't living in Israel anymore. I moved out. I moved to Sweden at that point. Yeah, there were that time all sorts of people coming to play and hang out. I know that Vandal, for example, who's now really big in the hardtech and ragatech scene, that he was playing more like tribe techno at the time, and he was in Israel back then. Also, Jeff 23. Oh, yeah. There's been a few.
cool.
But then also I heard from friends I got in that squatting movement and anarchist movement and also the rave scene. Some people started going to Europe and do the Teknival tour, where you travel around and join sound systems and go on different big illegal gatherings all around the continent, basically. And that sounded really good, of course. But it took me some years until I made it to my first Teknival.
Yeah. I've never been to a proper Teknival, but I've been to a bunch of free parties, some with more techno kind of stuff. But initially I discovered it probably online. I don't remember what came first. Was it the documentaries or the Toolbox Records website? But I was discovering a lot of like new stuff on the Toolbox Records shop, and they had those clips of the records, and sounded very
the Toolbox
interesting.
is good.
Yeah. And the documentaries, they initially like really made an impact to me, because
Have you seen the Italian one?
Yeah, I forgot
Il
the name.
Respiro, the Monster's Breath.
Yeah, that was
That one I think is one of the best ones so far.
But first I think I was watching the World Traveler Adventures, and there were quite a few different crews from like England and France and maybe some other ones too. Some of the stuff was, I guess, more from the 90s, and some was more recent. I think what really attracted me in this scene was that they were like very travel minded, that they wanted to travel to new areas and then expose the local people to this sound that they were playing. And there were different crews, but there was this one from about India, like driving with a truck from Europe to India, and then one about Mongolia, and I guess in the north of Africa there was also one.
There's also the one about I'm not sure if it's part of that. I actually don't remember those, but during the war in the Balkans, that Spiral Tribe were like throwing parties in besieged Bosnia.
Yeah, that was also very interesting. And then there was that one documentary by Heretic Sound System, which was also interesting. I think the Heretic Sound System and the Italian one, they were more like locals reporting the local scene, I guess. But the World Traveler Adventures was about like going to new places and exposing them to the techno sound and whatever they were playing at the time.
Yeah.
But then there is one Nordic documentary from Iceland, what is very interesting. It's called Free Tekno, and it's made by this Icelandic director Gunnar Haut.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting because that's like this Icelandic guy traveling to mainland Europe to discover the scene there and to tell about it. So it's kind of similar to those world traveler adventures where those sound systems from England or France are going somewhere in Asia or Africa, but Iceland is quite a secluded place. Like even here in like Finland feels kind of like an island in a way from the mainland Europe, but Iceland is even more like like separated, like you cannot drive to another country and so on. So I think it was...
Well, you can drive to Denmark, but it's 3 days on the ferry.
Yeah.
And it's expensive as well.
Yeah. But yeah, just it was an interesting observation that there is a kind of a Nordic connection to these documentaries as well.
Yeah.
Made by this guy.
A personal guess is that he probably was living somewhere.
Yeah.
Or well, many Icelanders move out and live in a big city for a while, from what I noticed.
Yeah. And it's kind of I suppose kind of like a coming of age ritual that you like travel to Europe and just for a holiday or for a longer time or like maybe like in international studies or something.
Yep.
I haven't been to like proper teknivals, but it was in the late 2000s, at the turn of the 2010s, when we started to organize some free parties here in Tampere with my friend Stök. He had a sound system and then we just started to try it out. And then after that I've been to some free parties, especially the Witches Sabbath, which is organized in Samara, Russia. It's also not like only techno music, but it has the same ideology of a free party, and there's everything from more chill music to more like hardcore music, and also techno DJs playing. It's a pretty interesting crew and party, but yeah, in these times, it's of course many people moved out of Russia that I know. But okay, how was it for you? When did you start to want to organize your own free parties or to
so it was quite
music?
easy. As soon as I moved to Sweden and found that there was nothing here. Like 2007, 2008 in Sweden, the only raves you could find was shitty house in some basement.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while, some psytrance party. Minimal was starting to be a thing as well. Minimal techno.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and dubstep in a club, of course.
Yeah. Those times.
Yeah, so I was looking and looking and looking, and then I realized, okay, this is what there is here. Oh, and I mean, of course, there were hardcore parties like twice a year and shit. There were. In some senses, I think maybe even the hardcore scene in Sweden was better back then, because actually, no, it was more than twice a year if you take the whole country, and some of it was really fucking wicked and DIY, and now I think the only stuff you have is like super hyper commercialized, even when it's not, and mixed with really bad contemporary hard style.
Yeah.
So actually, yeah, it wasn't that bad when it comes to hardcore, just not so frequent. So yeah, then I decided that, okay, I gotta make my own party then. And that was actually not so hard. There was a really nice DIY venue at the time in Gothenburg that I started to be involved with, called Underjorden, the underground. Yeah, my first free party I organized here was called Ghetto Blasting, where it was a very small and humble sound system. Not far away from where I lived. Also in nature, like Gothenburg is really awesome in that way that you have nature everywhere, like between all the different suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some people came. It was a bit strange for many people because we announced the party on the internet, that it's a free party, and then people emailed, and like, because I left the contact email for location and shit, and people were emailing like, hey, so how much does entrance to the free party cost? And what's the age limit for the free party? And that was a bit... Yeah, and then it took a while, and eventually, after some years, after seeking like-minded people, we got our own sound system here.
Mm-hmm.
That was called Elektro Illegal. And within a few years, then I moved away from Sweden and moved back. And by the time I moved back, it was pretty fucking decent.
Mm-hmm.
The sound system still exists, but it's now like a new generation that is
Mm-hmm.
kind of in charge of the gear itself, called Stök. They made the fucking miraculous work with it. It's really good. And they organize parties here from time to time. Very good friends.
Cool. So when was this first party? I don't remember if you mentioned the year, but
2008, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool. And yeah, we started maybe I'm not sure, somewhere around 2010 maybe, because I started to get into the sound around 2009. So that's when we had the first experiments. But the thing is that well, I'm more into the hardcore and my own kind of sound. So if I had more time, I would maybe like invest more into it. But it was always like something that I would also do, and sometimes DJ, because nobody else, well, not many other people were DJing that kind of sound. But but it was never like my main thing, but I liked it a lot. So did you guys start with kind of like just 100% techno stuff, or
No, absolutely not. Very mixed.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very mixed. Someone playing drum and bass. I really love drum and bass. Always have. So some people playing drum and bass, somebody maybe playing psytrance or dark psy, somebody playing hardcore, and try to make lineup that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That's still my favorite way of organizing a party. I don't believe in having one genre throughout the night.
Yeah.
Actually, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
To me. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was similar here, because we had like more like conventional techno, and then the free techno, like maybe start with the slower stuff, then go to the free techno and hard tech, and then some hardcore in the end. That's how it usually went, and of course that sound was also the hard tech and the techno sound. It was also played at some random free parties with anything from maybe like dubstep or psytrance or drum and bass and whatever was playing at the time. It all depends on the crew that was organizing, but it's still a kind of small local scene, so everybody knows somebody from some other scene, pretty much. So
yeah. Also, if you look at the European free techno scene, there's usually a mix of music, especially like among French and Italian crews. Some of them don't or hardly play techno at all, and they play more like weird ass electro and acid and stuff like that. I think only in Czech Republic I've been to, like, yeah, on some Teknival I've seen a sound system that only plays hard tech 24/7, or not 7, 24/3, and only 180 to 210 BPM hard tech. I don't understand the point in this, but you know, whatever makes your boat flow.
There was actually one party in Helsinki that was before our time, or my time, called Free Party for the Free People, and this was in July of 2008. I'm not sure what kind of music they played there, but I just found it interesting that they were using an infoline. Have you ever done that with your parties, that you get the information from an answering machine?
Yeah. We had that with explanations and stuff. Long time ago. Actually, some friends made a party a couple of years ago, and then it was an infoline. But until 2012, that was the way to go on many, many parties.
Okay. Because here it's not very common. I don't think we ever tried that. In the past, it used to be like handing out flyers at other parties, and then just internet basically, and like private events on Facebook or some other platforms, or some mailing list also, I think.
Here and now mailing lists are big in Sweden.
And even nowadays, I think it's, especially in Helsinki, they seem to use the mailing list stuff more. But if it's like a smaller party, then it really depends. And also another thing maybe that we use sometimes is some kind of information website, and you get the link privately.
Like the password. Yeah. Okay.
Have you had any of like more technical type of free parties in Sweden where more than one sound system joins, like local or from abroad?
Yeah. So we had a few of those. Like, first of all, there's another sound system now in the south of Sweden, in Malmö, called Öka. Really great people, really good crew. So some years ago, we made a party in Gothenburg together with them. They came with their sound, and there were 2 stages. Actually, one of the best parties I remember, at least here in Gothenburg, was amazing fucking party. Otherwise, in 2018, we made a party in Norway with a crew from Austria, Der Grat sound system, that they were traveling all the way to Norway. That one was really awesome too, because it was a 3-day party. Like usually here, it's just one night. And now there's also another sound system here in town called BAM, or Bangers and Mash. And they play dubstep and drum and bass and even reggae, but we made a party with them together. Built like one big wall, and it was supposed to be a 24-hour party, but at like 11, 12 during the day, police came and shut it down. We were going since 4 p.m. the day before. And apparently people in the nearest neighborhood couldn't sleep that night. Sorry.
Yeah, that stuff happens.
Yeah.
The main cities where you can at least sometimes hear some free techno music in Finland, it's here in Tampere, and also in Helsinki with the Kova Soundi and the Electric Alliance crews. Here in Tampere used to be Icetek, but I don't think they are really active anymore. And I've seen some movement in Turku also. There were some few names that I hadn't heard before, but I just recently heard, and they were playing hard tech, and it was pretty cool. And then there is in Oulu, in the north of Finland, there is this at least one DJ called Anarch who sometimes.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
By the way, I listened to some of his sets. He's really good.
Yeah.
Knows his shit.
Yeah. So it's really well, the situation is at least a lot more promising than like 10 years ago. During the COVID time, actually, there was kind of a revival of outdoor parties specifically in Helsinki. And because many people could not go to clubs or bars, or nothing was open, so, but there were these outdoor parties somewhere in the forest. So especially by Kova Soundi and some other crews were organizing these, and actually a lot of new generation found raves through COVID time, and there were of course many challenges also, because like many people didn't exactly know where they were coming, and it attracted like a lot of people. So there were some
here as well. During COVID time, you didn't have really any other kind of events except illegal raves.
Yeah,
actually everything else was shut down.
Yeah, free techno parties are maybe something that started here a bit more than 10 years ago, but there have always been free parties, because there are many like forest parties like in the summer.
Yeah, and it's something very basic human, no? The need to like gather with people and just, I don't know, celebrate life and not do a big thing out of it. Yeah, same here. There were some people throwing free parties, and very nice people too, but not so good music.
And of course, I have to mention the squat parties. There, especially in the 2000s, it was a really like common thing. Squats in Helsinki and Tampere and maybe some other places. And also,
what music did they play there?
So we even had like hardcore parties at squats. That was quite common in the 2000s, but now it's become more difficult, because there are not the same kind of squats anymore, and not so big squats also. And another thing that was popular in the 2000s was to reclaim the streets. I don't know if you had it there, but
right, yeah.
So that's
we had some of those in Sweden too.
And I was also playing some hard tech at some Reclaim the Streets in Jyväskylä. I think that was in 2010, and it was really fun because I didn't know the crowd there, and maybe they didn't really know me, but it just developed into this very anarchistic vibe, and people were dancing very wild on the street there.
Love when that happens, when the magic just happens on its own.
Yeah, but yeah, here it's not like in the Central and Western Europe, where you have like tens of thousands of people dancing, but it's more like intimate, and in recent years maybe a few hundred people at some parties, but it's still not the same, of course. But
I would say in Sweden, and the rave scene in general is not so big. If you would take like, I don't know, a big psytrance party here is with like 500 people. Say, then it's like, whoa, proper organization. People all over the country know about it long time in advance and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, in other places, 500 people is a small, cozy party. Basically. But here we had, I think the biggest parties we had are like with 200 people. The free parties we had here in Gothenburg, and yeah, that was more than enough.
Cool. So how many artists or DJs are there who are playing like Just like free techno or like hard tech or this kind of style?
Difficult to say, but now I think that it's more than 10 in
Cool.
in Scandinavia. Even around 20, I would say. There's a couple in every big city. Looks like.
Do you think that since you started organizing, did it like become a bit more popular and more people kind of picked up on it, or?
I think so, actually. I also think that, just because, let's say, minimal was very dominant here and a lot of people loved going out and dancing to bloop, bloop, bloop slowly, it doesn't mean that everyone is into that. And I think a lot of people also need the fucking energy.
Yeah.
So, and they just need to get exposed to it, and then it works. They don't need to like be initiated into anything.
Yeah, I feel like here in Tampere, we have been exposing people to so much speedcore that when you play techno, then it's like even more people start to dance because it's like not even so crazy anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I did notice that we had those first experiments in the early 2010s and had some break in between. But I feel like many people, like many DJs from like the psytrance scene and maybe like techno scene and hardcore scene, that more of those people also picked up this style and started to at least to try it out sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was interesting, and that there are also, I think, like quite a few DJs who were specifically playing Mental Tribe, and
okay.
And it might be because we were exposing them to it, or that it's kind of something that just works very well here, maybe.
Yeah.
Is there some specific styles of the free techno that's like popular there with the DJs?
With the DJs, I guess all in all hard tech. Like pretty conventional hard tech. Yeah. Then there's some other stuff, but nothing that stands out. But I think many people, or it's a friend of mine from Malmö that said this, that hard tech is extremely danceable music.
If we talk about like the aesthetics of the set, is there more like this like deep and psychedelic vibe that people like, or is there more of this mashup, like pop mashup kind of things, or like in the modern
people
French
love that, the pop mashup.
Yeah.
People love that. They love that. But that's also like here in the city. I don't really know how it is in other places. I think people also like acid. Because it's like a driving melodic edge. In my experience, the really mental shit is not, that doesn't get the dance floor going too crazy here.
Okay. I think here it seems to work quite well. Maybe as long as there is like a catchy enough rhythm or like a hard beat. And I also noticed the acid kind of stuff is some DJs have picked up that, and some people call it acid core, but I think acid core can be quite many things, because maybe I associate it more with some kind of more than 200 BPM kind of old
exactly.
School
There's
stuff.
two acid cores.
Yeah.
There's the like old school German, I guess, 200 BPM, and then there's the more Belgian style.
Yeah.
Mr. Gasmask is a very good example of that. That it's like a very cleanly distorted kick. Like, it is very distorted, but it's also kind of, clean, I guess. And with a lot of mid-range frequencies. So I think this is what people mean by acid core when it comes from techno.
Yeah. And I noticed that Mr. Gasmask, wait, let me check. I have some notes
What,
here.
that he's making psytrance?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, he is. He always has been, though.
Oh, but it's a different alias or the same?
No, under the same, and his collab called Subway Shamans.
Okay, but yeah, I noticed that Mr. Gasmask has actually been in Finland in 2004 at this Entropy Presents Corrosive. So they had DJ Arkanoid and Mr. Gasmask from Belgium.
Oh, wow.
But I'm not sure if this was more like conventional, like acid techno party, or at least the flyer and stuff seems more like conventional techno. I think they were also doing that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I also play some of the Mr. Gasmask stuff on some sets when I play the tribe and techno stuff.
So I think next question is like if there are any specific landmark free parties.
Yeah.
Wow, there is so many now after raving half of my life. But I think one that comes to mind directly is Easttek 2012. Easttek is East German Teknival. And they've been really having a lot of police repression every time. Like German police are, I don't know. They really hate ravers, I guess. I mean, maybe not more than in other places, but it feels like there's a higher chance of police shutting down a party in Germany. And anyway, they came and they tried to turn off the music on one sound system on the first night, and they actually got pushed back. The people from the sound system crew were there protecting their gear and pushed the police away. And it was like, okay, either this is gonna explode into a massive confrontation or they have to back down. And they backed down, and then the Teknival happened, and it was great. It was really good. It was 3 days of perfect weather and really good music and good vibes.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen some videos from there, probably from the police coming, and there was also some like small speedcore stage that was interesting, probably from Berlin.
I wonder if the speedcore stage was not Amazing Mono, which is a sound system that, they had some people that play speedcore and breakcore there. And they were at that time from Bremen.
Oh, okay.
Actually, but later on, all of them basically moved to Leipzig.
Oh, yeah. I just noticed one guy from Berlin was dancing in. It was maybe in some documentary or something.
Maybe. There is always speedcore in Germany, always.
Yeah.
So that was a good one. Otherwise, the party that we had here in 2016 with both Elektro Illegal sound system and Öka, with 2 stages by a lake outside the city, that was great as well. Like the most memorable parties are when it's really difficult in the beginning, when either police are trying to block it or shut it down, or something goes wrong in the vehicle or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you remember it because it's like you had to put up a struggle to be able to party.
Yeah. How is that that police presence there? Like if you compare it to something like Easttek, How do you usually like handle the situation in Sweden? Like, can they confiscate the sound system or something like that?
So in Sweden, it really, really differs between different cities. I personally haven't heard actually about sound systems being confiscated. And here in Gothenburg, police are usually really easygoing. Like, I remember parties that they would show up and say, like, please, can you just lower the volume a bit and we let you be. Like, okay, no problem. In other places in Sweden, they can be more violent, or they can like pick people at random and force them to do a piss test, because Sweden has like pretty extreme narcotics laws as well, where it's illegal for you to have any substance in your body. So like if somebody smoked a joint 1 week ago, police could like stop them on the street, make them do a piss test, and then they would get a fine and like could risk losing their driving license and shit like that.
Yeah.
But they don't do that in Gothenburg. This is the point. They do that more around Stockholm, actually, from what I understood. Also not too often, and in like smaller towns. It really depends. Also, some smaller towns are really chilled from what I understood, and in others it's hell.
Yeah, here it also depends a bit on the city, but also a bit on the police, like who's coming. There hadn't been many outdoor parties here in the area for a few years, and then last summer we tried to do something, and maybe it was some younger new cops who were not exposed to this, and they were a bit more strict immediately, like, okay, you have to pack your stuff and go. But it was also because that area, it used to have, I guess, like less neighbors, but now there's more new buildings and stuff, and it's like next to a lake, so that might be that there's some new cottages or something. Yeah, then we found a new, we had like a plan B already, so on the other side of the city, so we went there, and actually the police also came there, but because they had only had one complaint from some nearby industrial area, like somebody was actually living there and sleeping there, so we only had to like lower the bass down. But that other location, which used to be like very popular here, and there were like underground parties every weekend during summers many years ago, but now it's like just totally not possible anymore there, so we had to move to the other side of the city.
Yeah, something I thought about now is that, you know, here in Scandinavia, one thing we really have in abundance is space. There's so much space and so many amazing places, but I feel that there is not really a culture among ravers, of any kind of ravers, really, except maybe a little bit in the psytrance scene, of getting into the car, you know, planning in advance, getting a car and preparing for a weekend outside the city, you know, or just one night. Like here, I remember parties that are a bit more on the edge of town, and people are really like, nah, that's like more than half an hour with the tram, so that's too far away from me. I'm gonna skip that. And that's really, really stupid, no? In continental Europe, I guess it's very different from what I've seen. Like, people plan in advance, and they're kind of excited about discovering a new place. And going out and not bothering anyone and not being bothered.
People also drive to other, like in a country that's the size of the Netherlands, it's like easier to drive to some location, and people are more used to that, and big parties are in maybe even like smaller cities.
Yeah, but people do that in countries the size of France as well, and now it's gonna be really interesting. I mean, it's tragic, of course, but the development of the rave scene in Italy. because it's kind of impossible to make raves in Italy now, and you have a huge movement there with massive sound systems and motivated people. And I think they're gonna start going more and more to other countries to make raves. And by the way, this is, from what I understood, exactly what happened to the UK movement in 94 when they made the Public Justice Act, or what the fuck is it called?
It's the Criminal Justice Act or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The Spiral Tribe were kind of forced to go to other places because they just couldn't make raves in peace in the UK. And that made really, quite an impact on wherever they visited.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can't speak for other places, but here in Sweden, you have so many crazy locations that are quite accessible. You just need to decide, when, okay, you're gonna throw a party there. And that's it. But it's really hard for people to come. But maybe, I guess, you just need to do it and screw it. Start with 20 people.
Yeah, for some reason, we've had some trouble finding that perfect spot here in the south of Finland or the west of Finland. When I'm looking at the map, it feels like wherever you go, there's always some houses somewhere, or Finland is full of forests, of course. But also maybe to find like a clearing, like a big open spot. I mean, there are definitely some places near the cities where people usually go to do free parties. But if you want to do like a 1 week teknival, that's
that's
kind of a challenge.
Yeah, but keep in mind that 1 week teknival here in our area, it's not going to be like 1 week teknival in any other country. It's just not going to be as many people and as big sounds, and it all also really depends on how you position things. Like, I remember throwing some party that the closest house is 1 kilometer away, and you really can't hear shit 1 kilometer away if you put your speakers right.
Yeah, that's true
as well. So you can work a bit with the terrain and all that. And also, and honestly, in my experience, like the best locations or potential locations I've seen when I was just going for like a day trip to nature and not, okay, today I'm gonna go and look for a fucking location for a party. Then I usually don't find the good stuff. The good stuff is when I'm just, let's go to that national park, and then on the way back stop in the first cafe you find, and then right next to the cafe you find some path that leads to some other place, and all of a sudden you're at a clearing and there's like a small river going there and not a human in sight. You know what I mean? That you find it when you're not looking for it.
Yeah, I sometimes find some interesting places like that too. Just going for a walk somewhere. I've been thinking of Lapland like a maybe interesting location for like a teknival, because there is like lots of that open space, more than here in the south. But of course it's quite far away. But anyway, if somebody would come all the way here from somewhere in Central Europe or Western Europe, it would anyway be quite a long journey.
Yeah, so they gotta make stops on the way.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, there's a teknival in Bulgaria that's been going on for many, many years. And the thing is that the sound systems, they do a tour. It's not like they decide, okay, we're gonna go to Bulgaria and that's it. Usually they stop in Romania the week before that, and before that there's Slovakia. There's like a certain route, like the reindeer, you know?
Yeah. That's true.
So I think in that sense you could do like, I mean, if the final destination would be Finland, maybe something in the Baltic countries before that, or even Poland, somewhere in Poland, in like East Poland. Could be okay. Then it's not so far to drive to Estonia or Sweden before that. So like Denmark, Sweden, Finland.
Yeah. I think that right now here in Finland, there is a lot of talk about doing some kind of teknival type of event, or even like a smaller teknival type of event. But I suppose it's still about finding the right location, and I don't know. There's a few crews like especially Electric Alliance who have also, like, they have been I think it was in east of Europe somewhere, like just going there to some teknival to make the light show, because they do a lot of stuff with the lights. So they want to bring something new to the scene, and but they also have sound, and yeah, they have been we have been discussing for many years that it would be cool to have some kind of teknival type of event here, but we'll see. I hope that something will happen.
Yeah. One thing that's always been a bit of a mystery for me and made me a bit jealous, I guess, all in all, of some of those, like, you know, continental European crews, is their ability to work as big collectives. Because, you know, it doesn't matter what you do, the more people you are, the more stuff you can get done. Like when you do a party alone, you have to think about the sound, that it will work, the lights, you gotta set up something. Usually you skip the decoration or you do something really basic, but if you're 5 people doing it, then there's like a natural way of separating responsibilities. There's always someone more interested in this and someone more interested in that, and someone who just wants to be at the bar, for example. And over there I've seen collectives that function with, you know, more than 20 people. And that, like with all the different groups I've been part of, 10 is kind of the limit before it starts to turn, you know, into too many intrigues and like people disagreeing more than they agree. And I don't know how they do it. Like I was in Romania Tech this summer. That was my first Teknival since years. And it was really nice, by the way. Fucking epic location, high up in the mountains, not too big, very relaxed. Lots of good music. So there was a very famous Czech sound system there called Swamp. And they had the nicest decorations. Many other crews and like stages, they skipped the decorations altogether. And they had really, really nice decorations that looked like, I don't know, some kind of difficult to explain, but it was all sorts of garbage that they found, like windows and different things. And they just put it in a really nice way and then put visual mapping on it. So I went and asked one of the guys doing stuff there, like, do you have someone who's like comes up with your ideas for decorations? And he said, no, just like a few weeks before we're gonna start our Teknival tour, he said, we went with a car and just looked for cool garbage lying around on the streets, and if something looked cool, we picked it up, and then we chose from the stuff we picked what are we gonna do and how we're gonna use it. And that was like a fun thing we did together. And that's really difficult to do, you know, to get people to do that. That it's a certain level of commitment that, yeah, I haven't had a lot of that working in a group at all, honestly. And I was a bit jealous.
Yeah, that reminds me that sometimes at underground parties, like many just party people are very willing to help with the cleaning and stuff. And if they really enjoyed the event, then they will help out. But maybe it's like even more organized there.
Yeah, exactly. On the party, it's usually fine to get people to help out with the bar and cleaning up and even building it and stuff. But the like pre-work and planning work, that's usually less. People are less keen to participate in that. And yeah, you can do really magical stuff when you're a big functioning collective. But I don't know. I need to investigate more, like how they make it work. I think many of the people listening to this later, especially if it's people that have been working in, I don't know, also non-profit and like volunteer work of any kind, will recognize this, that it's really fucking difficult to organize people in like, how you call it? Non-hierarchic organization.
Yeah.
For how you put your ego aside and just work for a common cause. Doesn't matter what it is. And in this case, it's a party. This is also, I have to mention, like, one big difference between Scandinavia, Scandinavian rave scene, and let's say, I don't know, for example, Austria, the country that comes to mind. That here, any kind of rave party you make, and like half the crowd are going to be DJs. And over there, it's just a lot of kids that just want to party. You know, and in the end, you need those. You need those, and you need the people that just want to have a party and not go into the specificalities of how it sounds and what it is.
So, about visiting Soundsystems, have you been approached by any Soundsystems who want to come to the Nordics to play, or have you invited somebody to come?
There was this Austrian sound system I mentioned that they contacted us. Before that, we invited a sound system from Germany to come here and like be the sound on indoor party. That was, I think, 2013. Otherwise, no, just some artists like Summer Bass, for example. He is quite well known in the free party scene. I met him a little bit before, and then he wrote to me like, hey, it would be cool to come and play in Sweden. And then we organized like a mini tour for him that he played 2 parties. Okay. That was really cool. Nice. Fucking nice guy.
Cool.
Very easygoing. Otherwise, no, not so much. But there is some interest. Like during my travels, I met people that said that, who are in sound systems, that they said like, oh, fuck yeah, I would love to come to Scandinavia because it would be great to be somewhere where you have so much light to begin with, that it's bright until quite late, and that it's not so hot. Yeah. Because not everybody appreciates, you know, sweating constantly on a party. Yeah, some guy said that everybody who wants to sweat can go to Bulgaria Tech and will come to Sweden, but couldn't pull it through.
Is it easy to approach the scene online, or do you feel like it's easier to make these connections when you are at an actual teknival somewhere in Central Europe or somewhere?
I think it's quite easy on both, really. I mean, on the internet, it could be that you're just some random person sending a random message and you're not too serious, but you could also be serious. And same at a party, you know, when you're like had a few drinks, you're like, oh fuck yeah, I got the best idea. Let's do that. And you go and talk to someone, they're like, yeah, sure, let's. But it's all about how you stay in touch afterwards, no? But I think that in this movement, it's quite easy. People are looking to collaborate. And people love traveling. As you mentioned in the beginning, it's very traveling oriented.
Yeah, I don't get so many like requests to come here, but I also don't travel to teknivals that much. So, but I do share some stuff online. But yeah, I don't know. Like, do the people in the bigger scenes know that there is a scene or scenes in the Nordics or?
Honestly, most people don't know where Sweden is. Or no, okay, I exaggerate, but I think... No, I think most don't really care. Honestly, not because of anything, but because it's not very common to go traveling in Scandinavia. I guess Norway is a bit more well known for some reason, the nature.
The nature, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like it's a popular destination. I think for Germans, Sweden or all of Scandinavia is well known, but for other people, not so much. Germans love traveling here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I feel like also Finland. Feels more like a family destination for some like
or retired couples.
British families who go to Lapland to ski or see some reindeers and aurora.
Yeah.
And it's
here it's German retired couples.
Yeah, and well, Germans too, and it's not. The Nordics is not. It doesn't feel like a very dangerous place or like exciting maybe for the young people maybe.
Yeah, not so much. Copenhagen is more famous, but that's for like the club scene. And also I think many people go to work in Denmark. Many like Spanish, Italian people. Yeah, I've been contacted by a few people who are, especially Spain and Italy specifically, that live in Copenhagen and work there and like, where's a free party and stuff. But very few of them make it across the border later. Because from Copenhagen, you know, just a few hours and you're in Germany, I guess.
And of course, there are the random few people who come to study here for a few years, or like expats who are working for a few years, and then they start to ask around, like, is there any free parties happening in Finland? And I've seen that sometimes, but not so many people who will travel all the way here just for parties. It's usually the artists who are booked here and maybe their friends. And but that's in any electronic music scene pretty much. Except maybe the Finnish psytrance. They get
exactly. That's what I was thinking. It's quite well known.
Like they get travelers from even like Japan and stuff. So.
Yeah. I met Israeli psytrance people that went to Finland on a psytrance festival there. Metse, I think.
Yeah, that's
probably pronounced it
that's
wrong.
One of the bigger, earliest ones, and nowadays there's the Cosmos Festival. Also.
Yeah, are you going there, by the way?
I'm not sure about this year, but I played there one time.
Okay.
In maybe 6 years ago or something.
I'm thinking about going there this year.
Okay. It's pretty cool. I mean, I think they did have like maybe Miro. His DJ name for hardtech is Fanatek, and I think he was playing some hardtech maybe at some point there too. But mostly it's of course psytrance and then
But you have some other local specialties in Finland, like the Finergy.
Yeah, that too. That's very
that's cool stuff. By the way, I'm not an expert on that, but I like it. It's good BPM.
Yeah, it felt in the 2000s. It felt like it was the kind of gabber youth of Finland in a way.
Yeah, the trancy gabber.
Yeah. It was not so popular like gabber in the Netherlands, but still in at least in like bigger cities like here in Tampere, it felt like there was this group of youth who specifically went into that kind of parties, and it's of course known in other countries too.
Yeah.
But as for the free techno stuff, I guess there's not really a local specific sound. People are experimenting. Maybe somebody might sample some Finnish hip hop or something like that with the hardtech.
Cool. Yeah, we'll see where it all goes and how it develops.
But how about your own music?
Yeah, it's going forward. Especially since I have a studio as well. Really nice to be able to not sit at home, sit like in another place where I can play relatively loud and focus on that. But have some new stuff coming up. Actually, a track I made just got released like a week ago on a Belgian label called Arbratech, like acid core track.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I really like that EP that you released. It was the previous EP.
It's the only EP, with more than one track that I've released. So, yeah, I'm happy with that.
I was playing maybe one of the tracks somewhere.
Yeah.
At some party.
Cool. Happy to hear. Yeah, otherwise it's taking time. I'm also starting to work on a live set now. Things take time. How is it with your music?
So now I've been working on this 4-track EP for a few years or something. I'm doing some stuff with like different kinds of vocals mixed with the shaman core.
So it's a shaman core EP.
Yeah, it's like singers, and there's one rap track also.
Cool.
And like throat singing, and then some other different styles. Some kind of hypnotic and folk influence stuff. And yeah, I also had some, I guess, kind of hard tech type of experiments, but I haven't really just had the time to get into that. I mean, I might try it someday. Where do you take the inspiration from? Besides some free techno scenes, do you have some influences, maybe like more local Swedish scene influences that you can hear in your music?
No, I don't think it's so much of that. I really like industrial hardcore. I think actually it's kind of all in all my absolute #1 genre. If I would have to choose. So sometimes I make stuff that is kind of towards that direction. Otherwise, regular techno as well. Just kick and a groove. I think you can get pretty far with that. And I've always been told by friends that my music is really trancey without trying to make trancey music, but after a while I just decided to embrace it. So now I think all my music is really melodic. And I enjoy making that as well. I also try to make it a bit psychedelic and with ambience. And about inspiration, I think it's my biggest inspiration is everyday life and just sitting down and starting to make music, and then the ideas come on their own.
Cool.
I think, like, at least in Sweden, very specific genres here are like you have this northern electronics techno. You know what I mean? It's like a label from Stockholm. It's quite big now, but it's super slow, very dark, very melancholic. It's not really my cup of tea, even though I can appreciate it. Or some tracks I think are really good, but it's, for me, ambient, you know? It's music to go to sleep to. Not really party music, like, no offense anyone, but here it's really hyped and people play it on parties and shit, but yeah, sorry. It can be really good, but when I'm home back from the party.
Oh, sure.
And it's definitely not an influence for me, but it's a sound that is big here.
And I think also in the psytrance, the forest trance is a very Scandinavian thing.
Yeah. Also, there is a kind of a progressive psytrance sound in Sweden that I think is pretty good. That sometimes it's very acid as well. I can mention that one really good artist and DJ is from here, Hellqvist. And he's like, usually it's a style I hate. It's like this cross between minimal and progressive psytrance, but he's so fucking good at that. And a really good DJ. There's a few others like Gaudium. Oh, can't think of anyone else right now, but Forest doesn't actually work that good for me. But I have many friends that like it.
It's kind of in some ways similar to the Mental Tribe, maybe. Or I don't know if I've listened to enough Forest, but it's a bit like dark and atmospheric and
and the melodic elements are really kind of concealed.
Yeah.
Kind of also like industrial hardcore.
Yeah, true.
But with Forest, I have to admit, I tried and I couldn't really get into it. But maybe it's still ahead of me.
Just gotta visit the right party.
Yeah, the right party and the right DJ. I started appreciating also full-on psytrance more. And happy music in general.
Okay. So, if people living in Sweden or in the neighboring countries or more far away in Central Europe or somewhere, if they want to come to some free techno party or free party in the Nordics, where should they look?
Well, that's a good question. They can contact me.
Okay.
And as long as they're not police or idiots, then we can see what's happening in that time. Winter is a bit dead. It's really, really a nightmare to find a venue to do a party here. People want a lot of money for a pretty simple venue. But otherwise, during summer, there is always stuff happening. Always.
I will also put some links in the description about different crews that are doing stuff, and you can...
Yeah, like now, for example, I know that there is a crew making free techno parties and play techno with K in Copenhagen called Prigel, but I've Never been to any of their parties. I don't know who they are. I know there is an active sound system in Denmark, in Kolding, which is like on the continental part of Denmark. I don't remember what they're called, but they make free techno parties in Kolding. But it's people I don't know.
Oh yeah, we haven't really discussed Denmark. Have you been to some parties there?
Yeah, I've also been to a free party there many years ago, but not a free techno party.
Okay.
It was like tech house. A very nice place in nature outside of Copenhagen. Otherwise, I've mostly been to clubs there.
Okay.
Actually, I had a really good club night there one time when I saw Casual Gabbers play. They were DJing a whole night, but no, otherwise I have very little connection to the rave scene there and don't know anything. The little I noticed is that it's very club oriented and not so much rave oriented, even though there are of course exceptions. I played on one party there as well and it was nice. What was it called? It's organized by this guy called Christian Andersson. Yeah, I don't know. Getting older and forgetting stuff. But it was a good one.
And there's that one secret group where it was discussed that Sabbath was in Iceland, maybe.
No, he didn't go in the end. He was supposed to go there. Yeah, and he was supposed to play on like a commercial electronic music festival. Or, not commercial, but like non-DIY, like a properly organized one.
Yeah. And in Norway, we don't know, there was that one time, but...
No, there's a really good producer there called Protokick.
Okay.
But he's originally Italian. He's been living there for quite a while. Otherwise, I do know that some people from the psytrance scene there start to play techno, actually, and tribe and stuff.
Okay, cool.
So the sound itself is gaining popularity, but I don't know about the culture.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Maybe it's really good there.
Yeah, guys, if you are from Norway or any of the other Nordic countries, please comment below. Tell us about your scene. And we can get more connected also. And yeah, here also in Finland, like if anybody wants to come here, they can check out the cruise that I mentioned, or I will put some links in the description. And you can also ask me. I sometimes might organize something, but well, it's more hardcore parties for me. But I do get involved. I know most of the crews here, so yeah, you can also ask me. And if you have any questions about the free techno in the Nordics or in general, you can also write in the comments what's the future of free techno parties in Sweden or in the Nordics.
I don't know. When I look at Finland, it looks very promising. When in Sweden, I don't really know. I'm personally putting more stuff just into making music, really, and not organizing. But we'll see. I try to make like 1 or 2 parties a year. This year, or last year, I made 2. That's good. In the summer, right now my focus is just making music and doing a bit other things in life, honestly. I will travel a bit more this year, though. I do plan to go to a few free parties outside Sweden, that is. What is your perspective or plans?
So I just, in terms of free techno, I just hope that one nice summer all the DJs and the crews get together to organize something, because it's been kind of in the making for several years. But now we mostly have these regular parties of one night with one sound system, sometimes two, but it will be interesting to have something bigger maybe somewhere.
Yeah, it's a bit of a more kind of spiritual and fulfilling experience as well. When you can really be somewhere and it's not just arrive, dance a few hours, and okay, time to go back and think about work. Yeah, I think all in all, it's something very kind of basic human. You know, that the desire to get together, to dance, and to do it without having to consume anything as well.
Yeah.
That in that sense, I think the music is secondary as well. That it's natural that there is a kind of music related to that, but that's not the main point here. It can be whatever. It can be speedcore like you guys are making. It can be minimal techno and tech house, or whatever makes your whatever people like.
Yeah, and I think these developments are always a bit different in each region, and and there's always like different moments when you want something more intense and something less intense as well. So people are gonna keep finding those musical styles that are more intense or less, and all in all, it's also a very new culture, and we'll see what new stuff comes up and appears. Yeah, there might be even some new Nordic tech sound or something like that in
or
the
the
future.
equivalent.
Yeah.
That it's that, but it has a different name.
Yeah. Thank you for this talk and this interview.
Thank you for having me.
See you next time on Electric Byway.